Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Maria.
My name's Mark, I guess.
And my name's Harry.
We almost got there.
I forgot the order, I'm sorry.
I never made that up, Mark.
To be fair, I wasn't sure whether it was me or Mark next, so I nearly chipped in myself, Mark, so don't worry about it.
The wheels haven't fallen off completely just yet. We're good. Welcome, everybody, to another roundtable. This is the Big Blue Box March roundtable, and I am joined, as you've just kind of gathered from the intro, I'm joined by Maria, Mark, and Harry. Jordan can't be with us, neither can Matt. Jordan's busy, and Matt has got the man flu. So we're man down with Matthew. But he is unwell, bless him. So it's just, you have to put up with the four of us for the March Roundtable. We've got some cool themes to go through. As you all know, we had the trailer drop recently for the recent multimedia story Doomsday, which we're going to get into first, because that's probably one of the more quirkier things that's landed in Doctor Who for some time. And then we've got a couple of news stories to talk about, which are really interesting. So we've got a potential return of Stephen Moffat. He's going to come back maybe to do some writing for the show, and also a potential spin-off via Unit, possibly. So a lot of potentials, a lot of maybes, a lot of just sticking your finger up in the air. Which way is the wind blowing? What story is going to be accurate this week? Who knows? Who knows indeed. But before we get on to all that, let's see how you lot are. Maria, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. I'm off again this week. It just so happens.
Part-timer.
So
Jesus.
all good. Yeah, I know. I'm a part-timer, aren't I? They just want to get rid of me. So, they keep saying, go on annual leave. And I'm saying, yes, please. So, yeah, I haven't really done very much Doctor Who this week. I've only watched The Rescue, the William Hartnell story, because I'm on my William Hartnell rewatch at the moment. So that's the only thing I've been able to do this week. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. I love it that it's a two-parter as well. So, you can just kind of get it over and done with. Although saying that, I did enjoy it. So, I can't complain. But yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, really good.
Good. I like that when Maria does her little recap in Discord, she puts the production code for the block that she's watching. It's very cool. So production code L, apparently. L for Lima. Anyway, nice, Maria.
I used to drink with somebody that could identify Doctor Who stories by production codes alone. Back in the days of the Edinburgh Doctor Who group. They were just like, production code HH, that's whatever it is.
Bloody hell. The only person...
I'm sure somebody listening can tell me what production code HH is.
Probably. Yeah, the only person that I know that can do that, and I don't know them personally, is Toby Haydock. Apparently he can do that stuff. He's a bit of a magician with the old Doctor Who production stuff. But yeah, thank you, Maria. Very, very cool. Mark, you weren't on the last one, I don't think, were you?
I've not been on for a while. I've not written for a while, so I feel a bit like a charlatan sort of showing up on the round table. But it's nice to just chat Doctor Who with some lovely people. Yeah, it's not bad. I'm going to see Stephen Moffat's play on Saturday night in London, so that'd be great.
Nice.
Very on brand, I suppose, for what we'll discuss later on. But yeah, so that's the most... I mean, I've got season 9 sitting on my shelf. I've not even taken out the cellophane yet, which is strange. So there we go.
Same. Yeah. It's a nice set, though. Season 9. It does look good. Cool. Well, nice to have you with us, dude. And last but not least, Harry. How have you been, young man? Come on. What have you been up to?
Hey, Gary. I'm actually on a week off this week
Jesus
as well. And
Christ.
Yeah, I know. And I was also on a week off last week, but that's because I had COVID, so it wasn't really a week off. But yeah, I've had more time to watch some Doctor Who. I'm still only on season 3 though. It's very slow going because, like I was saying last month with this marathon, I'm in the kind of heavy telesnap stage of it. So it's it's not doing very well for the old attention span. And also, I'm on the Daleks Master Plan, and that's an infamously very long serial. I just watched the random episode in the middle where they end up on a film set because it was Christmas, and it was the strangest thing I think I've ever seen. That's interesting. Other than that, I've not really done anything Doctor Who, which is a bit boring. I'm doing this though, so this is good.
Well, you're doing something Doctor Who with doing this very podcast.
Absolutely, we fit in little things when we can in our busy lives.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, our busy lives where I haven't been working for the past 2 weeks. But anyway.
Well, nice one, dudes. That's cool. It's good to have the bunch round the table, so to speak. Right. Before we crack on with the actual themes and stories, just a very quick one. Just make sure that you are following or subscribing to this very podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. That way you won't miss any of the regular episodes that go out every Friday, plus these roundtables, which go out every month. And you can also listen over on the website for free. Just head over to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and you can also read all of the reviews and articles from this lot, and also from Jordan and Matt as well. So get stuck into all that. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. There are links on the website, and we also have a very cool free Discord server. So hop in there and chat Doctor Who with lots of other very cool Who fans. Rightio. Straight off the bat, we're going to dive into Doomsday. And I feel I have to say it like that as well. It's not Doomsday, it's Doomsday, which was a nice little quirky thing that happened. Because please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the first time we saw this was just a very tiny little teasery thing. It was just the logo essentially. That I think they popped on their YouTube channel or their Twitter, one of the two. And then when we finally got the trailer, it was it's actually about a character called Doom, and she's been set upon by death itself, and she's got 24 hours to find the Doctor, or she's mincemeat. So an interesting thing. This I'm fascinated to see what you guys think of this one, because it has got a very mixed reaction, should we say, on the socials. Lots of peeps putting their 2 cents in on this one. So let's go to Mark first. Actually, dude, what are your thoughts on Doomsday?
I mean, it's not for me. I don't think really. I mean, but straight off the bat. But I mean, because it's. I'm not the target audience. I think it's something for, because you look at what's involved. It's like mobile games. It's a lot of stuff I don't really kind of engage with anymore. Big Finish as well, stuff like that. So yeah, it's basically Time Lord Victorious Part 2, isn't it? That's essentially what we're getting. And I think a lot of people are throwing their toys out the pram because it was sort of teased as if it was going to be something bigger than it actually was. And there's also this kind of mad belief that, BBC Worldwide, as something that is essentially a commercial enterprise that deals with spin-off media, for some reason don't have the money to make more episodes of Doctor Who. They can't. Right. They don't just sort of cancel the merchandising and make a whole Paul McGann spin-off series for the very same budget, which I think the trailer proves is not that high. So it's just a fun kind of ephemeral kind of brand linking thing for the anniversary, and that's fine. And I'm sure, I picked up some of Time Lord Victorious. It was fine, and I'm sure this will be the same kind of, muck around. And obviously it seems to have a bit more of a kind of comic tone than Time Lord Victorious, which was obviously very kind of doomy, but then also because you have to pay for it, it can't actually do anything that fundamentally changes the fabric of Doctor Who, because the BBC get in trouble for things like that. Yep. So at least this, you've got a character who claims to be the greatest assassin in the world. And the thing that made me laugh on the internet was all these people going, how is she the greatest assassin in the world? And it's like, hello, Doctor Who fans on social media, can I just introduce you to the concept of irony? And, the idea of casting a comedian to play that character maybe suggests they're not actually the greatest assassin in the universe.
There is that, teeny little thing to consider there. I don't think that they're being 100% serious with it.
No.
Like, we could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's it doesn't feel like this is going to turn out to be like the greatest assassin you've ever seen in all of Doctor Who. So I get that.
Yes.
So you picked up on the trailer as well, on the quality, and it's a strange one, isn't it? Because Doctor Who these days, I think pretty much from Capaldi's era, I think it's well known for having a reasonable budget these days, especially most of Jodie Whittaker's era. It looked visually fantastic, like the production was very good, always very high quality, very, very cool. And this feels like it was done on an iPhone in someone's garage with a bit of cheap green screen going on. So do you think that's an intentional thing? Do you think it was an intentional, we'll just throw a couple of quid and that's it? Or is it a bit of a foobar?
I think it is an intentional thing, because I think none of it, my understanding is none of it's going to translate into actual sort of televised Doctor Who. No. Or any kind of, spin-off shows or any YouTube. I mean, you might get other kind of YouTube videos in the same vein. But it felt to me like, oh, okay, how are we going to announce this thing in a way that isn't just a press release listing a bunch of books and CDs and things like that? So I think to me, it felt like they've just cobbled together something that feels like a slightly more special announcement than just, here's all this shit you need to buy if you want to follow the story.
Yeah, it's they have to be careful not to pull a Star Wars, right?
Yes.
So you can kind of follow this story, but you have to go and play that game, read that book, buy the comic, and then you'll get it. So, I read you. Yep. And just as before we get on to Harry, if anyone wants a really good laugh, then if you go to YouTube and actually watch the trailer, the comments are where the entertainment value is. Where the comments are, should I say? There's some cracking. I mean, YouTube is known for its kind of savage comments anyway, but this is if you thought the Jodie era got some stick, go and check out the comments on this video.
I just don't get, like, and also considering the fact they announced it on Monday, it's like what like, you've got a whole season 9 box set to watch. Like, what are you moaning about? Like,
it's not as if you haven't got anything to do. Right?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. Very weird.
I read you, dude. Okay, Harry, what are your thoughts on this, dude? Because you put something quite comical in Discord about it.
I did.
So I'd like you to expand on that, please. But just watch we're PG podcast, so be careful.
All right.
Yep.
I can't remember what I said. I'll have to look back. Oh, my memory's shocking. But yeah, to be honest, it looks okay. It sounds okay. I mean, I don't really have the level of commitment to sort of buy, every bit of the story. Like with Time Lord Victorious, I just bought the two novels that they did, and that was enough for me. And also, I hope it's a bit like Time Lord Victorious in the sense that you could kind of have one isolated fragment of the story. So like you could buy one book or one comic or one audio, and then like that will stand on its own, and you can kind of have a good time with that, and you don't need to necessarily cave in and buy everything. Yeah, I hope it's like that. And it probably will be the case. I'll probably just buy like the book that they do of this. I question making a big multimedia event about a entirely original character and an ironic character at that. I mean, this sort of comical kind of, or greatest assassin in the universe, but she actually isn't sort of idea. I mean, for one episode of Doctor Who, maybe that would be funny and amusing, but stretched thin over kind of like, several different stories across several different mediums. I question like how well that would work. And yeah, she would have to be a compelling character, and there would have to be some compelling elements of like well-known Doctor Who lore, like scattered here and there, to make it worth investing in, I think. Because if she's not a compelling central character and the stories aren't compelling, then it would just kind of fall on its arse a bit, and it would be kind of I mean, I would say it would be a loss, but as we've said, it doesn't sound like they have invested a lot financially sort of into this. But that's just the trailer, I'm sure, a lot of people behind it, they'll employ some people who, some good writers and things like that. I mean, well, here's hoping anyway. I mean, we weren't expecting to have something like this last week, so let's not complain if it's not very good. Do you know what I mean? And we've still got the Tenant specials, so just people have been really losing their rag over this, and I just kind of think, like we weren't ever expecting this, so just chill out, guys, chill out.
Just chill. Yeah, I read you. It's almost like it's supplemental to the main 60th stuff that's going on. This is just a nice sort of thing that's hovering around. Like if you want to dive in and have a look at the Doomsday stuff, then all good, go and do that, because it's spread across loads of things. It's I didn't realise that BBC Audio were also doing stuff alongside Big Finish, so you've got plenty of audio stuff to dive into, and there's probably loads of Big Finish fans that's all they'll do. They'll potentially listen to the audio and not worry about having to buy books and comics and that stuff. So, but yeah, I think. Do you think perhaps... Maria's back. Maria's joined us. Hey, Maria. So do you think... I might as well fire this question over to you, Maria, actually. We're talking about Doomsday.
Okay.
And do you think that you'll be picking up all of the different aspects in terms of the books, comics, audio and stuff like that, and watching it on the... It'll probably have stuff on iPlayer. It says the BBC's digital channel, which I think is the iPlayer. Are you going to dive into a lot of that stuff, or are you not fussed about this?
Well, originally I think like Mark said, I don't think it's really aimed at me as a consumer. My thought was that obviously because it's going to be multimedia, they are trying to cover all the bases and kind of maybe attract lots of different types of people coming in. I mean, for me, I will probably just dip into it if there's anything interesting. Maybe if there's one particular story that kind of stands out for me. I'm not somebody that wants to collect every single item, within a series. I normally dip in and out and take the bits that I want. So that will be very much my approach to it, really. But it's nice to know that it's there, much like Harry said. I think, I think we need to see what comes out of it. I mean, that YouTube video was kind of cheap looking, but I'm not going to judge it too much. Let's just see what comes out of it, and and if there's a couple of nice bits and pieces that I want to dip into, that's what I'll probably do. Interesting.
Okay, and I expected that really from you, Maria. I knew that you'd just be like, yeah, I'll dip in and have a look. And one thing I do like is the logo. I like the logo. It looks very cool. It actually looks like a TV event logo. It does look pretty high quality, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe that set people's expectations up for this very cool looking thing, which turned out to be questionable. Mark, what do you reckon to the casting on this, dude? Because alongside the actual quality of the trailer and the concept of it all, a lot of people have said that they're not really taken with Suze Kempner. What's your thoughts on? Because she's a stand-up comedian first and foremost, right?
Yeah, I think she's great. On the stuff I've seen, she's a great impersonator. She's basically just, I think, since lockdown onwards, has done these sort of great sort of videos on social media. I've never seen any of her stand-up shows, but she's I know her most recent one was about sort of PlayStation 1 and that whole kind of sort of growing up with that. And I think the one before that was about Sonic the Hedgehog. So she's very embedded within kind of nerd culture. So I think she knows what she's signing up for. But I think the hilarious kind of way she's responded to some of the kind of criticism has been great. Was it today or yesterday? She said, "Oh my God, I'm Poochie." In reference to when The Simpsons introduced Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie to great horror from the Simpsons. So yeah, it's just I think she's a stand-up comic. So I think a bunch of Doctor Who fans on the internet, I think compared to the bear pit of a comedy club, it's probably small potatoes. Really, I think they'll be fine. But I think she's good, and I think I think it seems like she'll be kind of doing the kind of audio stuff in character.
Yeah, looks like it.
And yeah, it just seems like it's going to be a kind of irreverent kind of comic take on the anniversary. Whereas if people want a kind of big, epic, you've got the Big Finish anniversary special, you've got the actual anniversary special. So this is just a kind of different take on sort of Doctor Who's 60th. And I think if they're going to go down a kind of comedy route, then I think going for somebody like Suze Kempner, who's quite well known amongst a certain kind of crowds, is probably quite a good move.
Yes, yeah, agreed on that. And to me, my initial thought was this was aimed at like the Sarah Jane Adventures, the sort of late teen, like mid-teens, I guess. Like the CITVs, CBBC, that kind of thing. So to me, I think this is perfect for the younger audience. Sort of if you're between sort of, I don't know, 7 and 13, 14, I guess. This is probably right up your alley because the actual 60th stuff with David Tennant coming back and Catherine Tate, and then this Big Finish stuff, that all feels quite big and heavy to me. That feels like a really big, like that's a huge, that's going to be a massive emotional big thing. So I think for the younger viewers or the younger listeners, I think this is something that's a lot more lighter, that there's not so much we have to watch all of David Tennant's era to get what's going on, and we don't have to watch all of this stuff to get what's going on, and all that. So yeah, it's an interesting move, and I think it has got a lot of unnecessary hate, because I honestly think that people just took this little mini trailer before the proper one dropped as this massive big thing that was coming.
Yeah, it's always it's the same thing that it always is. It's like the thing that I've got is not the thing that I invented in my head in the 24 hours between I saw the teaser trailer and then the actual thing. Yes,
yeah, it's not like the days of old where you just had a trailer drop and that was it. Now we get a teaser, potentially 2 little teasers, and then people just go nuts. And then when the actual trailer drops, it's like, oh, yeah, that's not good, is it? Well, anyways, that's Doomsday. Thank you guys for your thoughts on that. It's I think the overall thing is, from our point of view anyway, on the Big Blue Box, is we'll probably dip into a bit of it, I guess, but we're certainly not going to go nuts and pick up everything. Yes. All right, let's move on to some other news then. And this is the news that I think we all knew was coming. Even if nobody asked us or it came up in conversation, it was probably that, for me at least anyway, it was in the back of my mind for a while. And that is Stephen Moffat coming back to write some Doctor Who for Russell. So this has always been a thing where I know we spoke about it a lot on the podcast over the years, where during Moffat's era, when he was showrunner, it was always that thing. Do we think Russell would come back? Would Russell come back and write an ep for Who under Stephen Moffat? And now it's a case of the tables have turned, but not in a bad sort of derogatory way. It's more of a, now that Russell's behind the driving seat again. And this article, I'll quote a little bit. It's from a classy tabloid here in the UK. Always classy and respectful. But they say that Russell's on a mission to make Doctor Who great again. Obviously not throwing shade. And they want to make it event television that's not to be missed, which it was for many years during his and Stephen's tenures in charge of the show. So whoever wrote this article for The Mirror clearly is not a Jodie fan. You can tell that a mile off. And And then they go on to say that one of the ways he can do that is to ensure that he has the best people writing for the programme. He has nothing but respect for what Stephen achieved with the show and was a fan of his vision as showrunner. He approached him about returning in just a writing capacity because he knows Doctor Who inside out and has a brilliant imagination for adventures in space and time. He took some convincing, but the chance to contribute to a show he has loved since childhood and see it blossom in a new era with a new Doctor was just too much to resist. So this is, we have no idea who this is, by the way. This is just apparently a source. So you know how this thing goes. We know how this goes. We've been here a million times with, this source said this thing and all that lot. But I do think that this can hold some water, I think, because I think that Russell coming back to write Who while Moffat was in charge, I think he had legitimate reasons in that he was never off work. I think he was always busy and always doing stuff. Whereas I think Moffat now, because he's coming up sort of, I don't know whether to say this or not. I guess because he's coming up to the twilight part of his career, where he is doing stuff, but he's not like, going hell for leather and on multiple different projects all the time and doing stuff. Maybe he sees this as an opportunity to sort of one last bit of contribution, I guess, to the show. So I do think this is mostly credible. I think we could see an announcement at some point to say that he's going to come back. What do you guys think to this one then? Because like I said, the roles have been reversed. Russell was apparently always asked to come back, but never could or didn't want to. Moffat has never said he would never come back, but now it does feel like he's been out of the game for a little while. A good time to come back. So, Maria, what do you reckon?
I have to laugh actually when you kind of read some of these articles because, you think to yourself, well, how do they know these things? Is it something that, has been leaked and is true, or is it just a rumour that, the Mirror have made up? But let's assume that it is true and he is going to come back. I don't have any qualms about him coming back. I mean, I know that, some of the best stories that he wrote were under Russell T Davies when he was in when it was his tenure and he was just coming in as a writer. He was really strong. I mean, you've got Blink, you've got Silence in the Library, you've got, I'm just trying to think of all the other ones that he's written some others, so he's done quite a few stories and he's I don't know why I had a list of them. I wrote them down and I've lost it. But he's done loads, and we know he's a good writer. We know he's a good writer. He can be a great writer. So I think something you said about him kind of coming back to the show is it. I don't think it's probably not one last hurrah for him. It's probably just because he loves the show. And, anyone that kind of loves the show, I think, is going to want the best for it. And, I can understand Russell maybe asking him to write a story. I mean, if it's just one story, I'm happy with that. We don't know who the other writers are going to be, for the new series coming up. And it could be new writers. We don't know if anybody else is going to come back that's written for the show before. So why not? I think Moffat should come back. He can write good stories. I didn't love everything in his era as a showrunner, but I think as a writer he's really imaginative. So yeah, bring it on. I'm happy he's coming back. If he wants to come back and write a story, why not? I think it's brilliant.
Maria says, bring it on.
Yeah.
Come on, Moff.
Definitely.
Maria's given you the green light. So, on you come.
If I had an ounce of his talent in my little finger, I'd be happy. Put it that way.
Yeah, no doubt he's a great writer. Not just for Doctor Who, he's done some brilliant stuff. So, and much like Russell being away from the show for a while, you would assume that he's only got better, right? Because he has written some very cool stuff in between. So, Mark, what do you reckon then? Are you? I can't remember if you're a fan of the Moff era or not. But what are your thoughts, dude?
I love Moffat, but I'm 99% certain that this is true. I won't say why, but
Here we go.
but yeah, I'm pretty certain that this is happening. My concern, though, is that
info.
My
We're
source
gonna just
confirms
have-
the source.
2005 all over again. And it is just going to be the same writers, it is just going to be the same production team, but with a new Doctor. And whilst, yeah, great, I love that kind of first Russell T Davies era, I do also want to see kind of Doctor Who pushed in a new direction. I don't want to see Doctor Who just do the same thing again, but it just looks better because, you know, it's got a cash injection and it's a co-production with Disney Plus. So if it's the case that RTD's bringing in old writers like Stephen Moffat, I've also heard rumours about Mark Gatiss as well. If he's bringing those guys back as kind of like tentpole writers to then kind of, so you can kind of like rely on them to kind of turn around a script quickly because they know what it is to write for Doctor Who, while Russell is kind of building this kind of next generation of Doctor Who writers, that's great. Because I think the problem we've had is that when Chris Chibnall decided he was going to leave the BBC, I think we're like, well, who do we hand this over to? And then Russell T Davies writes an email going, oh, here, I want to do like a special with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Are you up for that? And they go, would you also like to just run Doctor Who again? Would that be okay? So I think it would be good if this new era is about looking to the future and about kind of cultivating like a new generation of writers. But obviously to do that, yeah, you probably do need to have a few old hands to kind of steer the show at the same time, because it is kind of a prestige, it's the sort of jewel in the crown of the BBC. It's a big global, it's kind of moving into the kind of global streaming landscape. So you probably do want writers like Stephen Moffat on board. So yeah, I'm excited, but also just a little bit reticent to be overly excited because I don't want it to just be the same old stuff again.
Gotcha. You make a very good point as well. I think it's easy sometimes to get carried away with having your nostalgia glasses on and viewing it as in, oh, I loved so much of the Moffat era, and it'd be amazing if he came back, and while you're at it, get Gatiss back, get that. So it's tempting to sort of get the band back together. But yeah, like you say, the problem with that is, while it could be great for a very short period of time, it does nothing to help the future of the show, where you need sort of the younger, you know, people like Harry to sort of come up and be in the show moving forward and stuff. So I read you, man. So Harry, what do you reckon on Moffbag coming back?
So I'm in two minds about this. On the one hand, like, sort of as a fan, I feel like with Stephen Moffat, I never knew sort of how good we had it. I felt like I spent an awful lot of the time bashing Moffat when he was showrunner, as a lot of people did. It's just kind of, unfortunately, the trend often seems to be to kind of, you know, totally rinse what we have, like say everything bad about it, and then a few years down the line, then we realise actually it was quite good, like the Doctor Who we had a few years ago. And so, yeah, I feel like if Stephen Moffat were to write another episode of Doctor Who, I'd be like, oh, fantastic, you know, because I have that sort of newfound appreciation because some of his stuff is kind of like the dust has settled on it, and we can look back on it a bit more fondly. So, yeah, I guess for nostalgia, that would be quite cool. However, on the other hand, there's this thing about nepotism and this thing about, you know, you've got Russell T Davies running the show again. That's one thing, and obviously that's really, really good. And yeah, Stephen Moffat, he's a great writer as well. But you know, I agree very much with Mark. I feel like, you know, I don't want the same things, you know, sort of cropping up again. We want like the show to keep reinventing itself. We want new talent. You know, it's really important to have new voices on the show, and yeah, you just don't want it to become stale. I mean, the more I think about it, like, and the more they say, oh, so and so who worked on the show previously are coming back on board again, and you know, more and more of the old band are coming together, the more I'm actually a little bit uncomfortable with it, because it's like, so are we just going to like do the same stuff again for a few more years, and then after that, then what? You know, It's kind of, and that's catastrophizing, obviously.
Catastrophizing.
I mean, it is my favourite show, so I think about these things an awful lot.
I would say though, catastrophizing is the default setting of the Doctor Who fan. It's always like it's gonna get cancelled at any minute, even though it's been on screens pretty much consistency since 2005. But it could go at any minute.
It's absolutely what we're conditioned to do. But yeah, it's the BBC's biggest moneymaker, and now it's got partnership with Disney and all that stuff. It's not going away, certainly not anytime soon. But yeah, that's
true.
my thoughts on it.
Yeah, cool. I'll be honest with you guys. I championed the axe, the break, before the whole Russell T Davies thing. I just thought, what we need? We just need a bit of everyone to sort of bring their heads up above the water and take a breath a little bit and see what's going on. I didn't want it to be cancelled, forever, but I certainly was up for a bit of let's take a break for a couple of years and see where we want to go.
I think that would have been healthy. I think that would have been good. And then if it came back in a few years' time, then we would have been excited for it. But not that we're not excited now, obviously. But that would have been not a bad road to go down.
I think the main obstacle for that was the fact that you've got the 60th, and I guess they were kind of worried that. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of removing the show in sort of 2022, and then right, well, Doctor Who's on a break, and then you kind of don't have it on the telly for the 60th, or maybe you do those David Tennant specials, but as a kind of past Doctor adventure, and then it's like, well, then what? Because then where do you pick it up again? I don't know, but yeah, I think you're right. I think these things do. It is good to rest things, rather than kind of just keep repeating the same old material and kind of harken back to this supposed golden age of Doctor Who.
Supposed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that go the other way, though, admittedly. So I think you have to be careful with that. I remember when the X-Files came back. That was all right. That was all right, but it wasn't. Different circumstances, I guess, though. But yeah, I was totally up for it. I was like, do you know what? If you want to take a few years out, once Chibbers has gone, then do it. I think that would have been a good thing. But it just so happens that the stars aligned, and Russell knows how to use email, so that's good. Actually, that book is very cool with him and Ben. Is it The Writer's Tale with Ben Cook?
Ben Cook, yeah.
Ben Cook. Yeah, which is essentially just a series of email conversations, right? That's very cool. We recommend that book all the time.
He made a whole book out of emails. Yeah, he's that good at them.
Listen, I'm telling you, if you've not read The Writer's Tale yet, it's one of the best reads if you want to get inside the head of Russell a little bit, because he goes into quite a lot of, not just about, oh yeah, I think it would be cool to do this thing for Doctor Who. It's not just that. It's more like, sometimes he's like, I'm having a beep day, and I just can't write anything. It's just crap. So I'm going to take a break and do this. And Julie keeps telling me to go and have a holiday, but she doesn't realise that if I do that, it's going to be worse. And I just need to crack on. So it's a very, very cool book. If you're a fan of Russell and a fan of that whole sort of coming to the end of sort of David's era, I think it's up there. I think as we go on to that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, fantastic book. So I think due to some technical gremlins, Maria might be back with us. Let's have a look. Here she is. Right, she's coming through. Right, let's move on to the last story, which is a continuation, I guess, on the whole gearing up for the 60th and all that jazz. And that is this idea of spin-offs. So we spoke about this for a while. Is Russell going to champion and actually put forward some spin-off shows from the main show, which has been spoken about on and off for years now? And I think it was just, I think once Chibbers took over, that was finally put to bed. You could just tell a mile off that he had no interest at all in doing any type of spin-off. Now, Mark's going to be like, actually, Gary, I think you're fine, but...
Actually, I think you will find. There is an interview with Chris Jemma recently where he was like, yeah, I absolutely want to do spin-offs, but the problem is you're working with the BBC and there's no money and there's no interest, and that's kind of the thing,
I
which
don't
I kind
buy
of
it.
believe, to be
No.
honest.
No, I don't buy that one, dude. I don't, because you cannot mention, you can't go through your entire run of Doctor Who and not mention spin-offs once to anybody or in any interview. And then when you leave the job, you're like, yeah, I really wanted to do that thing. You know, this thing that Russell's going to do now that's going to be really good and everyone's going to love. I wanted to do that when I was there, but I was told that I couldn't do it. Yeah, okay.
The thing is, Russell does also have the Walt Disney Corporation behind him and Sony Pictures, so I be fair.
Do we need to cut him some slack, Jibinator, on this one? Maybe. I'm not buying it. So, the spin-offs. Spoken about for a while. Russell wants to do it. And it's not one of those things where this is like a source said to somebody else, to another source, whatever. Russell's actually said this in interviews in the last few months. And the first one is, now this hasn't been confirmed, right? Is this still we suspect this is going to be the first of potentially some spin-offs. I don't think this is like a done deal yet. But again, this is the Mirror. So Maria put this link in our Discord the other day, and it links to, it's over at deadline.com, and they've taken it from, as they often do, from a tabloid, and it's the Mirror again. And this is the idea of Jemma Redgrave, who is going to head up a unit spin-off. And yes, it's kind of interesting because, in my opinion, you guys might have a different opinion. In my opinion, units haven't really been... Unit, since it came back in 2005, Unit has never really been that kind of tag team with the Doctor as much as it was back in the day in the classic series. So it seems interesting that in terms of a spin-off, and potentially the first spin-off, is to bring Unit back to run alongside the main show and have Jemma Redgrave head that up. She's very cool, don't get me wrong. I really like her character. She's very cool. I just think it's a bit of a bold move for Unit, just because I feel that they've kind of drifted away into the shadows just a little bit, and they pop up literally every now and then in the odd story, and even then they weren't really... what was the story where they had that cheesy American dude that Martha reported to? Was it The End of Time, or was it Stolen Earth?
Yeah, it was Stolen Earth.
Stolen Earth.
I've forgotten the guy's name there, but yeah.
You know who I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have characters like that pop up that are just completely forgettable. Like immediately when the story's done, it's like, whereas back in the day, you watch Unit stories with Benton and the Brig, obviously, these characters that sort of forged their own path within the show and made them very memorable. You just didn't have that with Unit, I don't feel anyway, since 2005. So it's interesting. So again, round the table, I'm up for this, but I'm kind of reserved a little bit because I'm finding it very difficult to not make comparisons to things like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Anyway, we'll get on to that another time. But Harry, what do you reckon?
So, Kate Stewart is one of those characters that I enjoy seeing pop up, but that's only by virtue of the fact that she's the Brig's daughter. I don't think, as a character herself, she's actually that interesting. Not to be horrible on, Jemma Redgrave, who performs it really well. But, but I don't think that immediately spells disaster for this spin-off, if it is to be, an actual spin-off. I feel like it's a good opportunity to flesh out that character and flesh out Unit as an organisation, as a set of characters. Kind of like how... Sherlock, Stephen Moffat's Sherlock, was a show about a detective rather than a show about, crime solving or, police drama or whatever. I want Unit to be about the people in the organisation, as opposed to kind of just it being run-of-the-mill, we're going to fight monsters and all this kind of stuff. If anything, I just don't want it to be kind of empty or like a vessel for Easter eggs. I want it to be, I don't know, just feel like it's doing something that isn't formulaic, something that's interesting. And yeah, if Kate's going to be the figurehead of it, then make her a more compelling character than she has been in years prior, because historically she's kind of just been a bit of a boring character. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I read you, buddy. It's yeah, okay. So you want to see it have a bit of substance to it rather than just sort of fan servicey, Easter eggs and stuff like that. Okay.
I think there's kind of a culture around the sort of like the Marvel and Star Wars, more so with the Marvel stuff nowadays, I think, where it's just kind of, it's all about just churning stuff out, and it's like, I just kind of want to watch something that has kind of like I want it to feel like the people want to make something, as opposed to it just being like a corporate, we're going to fill in this slate of this endless stream of TV shows. Like I want it to be good, basically, is the long and short of what I'm saying.
You want it to be good.
Yeah. A very basic requirement for my television viewing, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the baseline, isn't it? Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I'm full of wonderful insight, Garry. Wonderful insight.
Coolio. Okay, I know you've got to run in a minute, Mark, so what are your thoughts on this one, buddy? Up for this?
It's a funny one, because I think, again, it kind of feels a bit like I was saying with Moffat. It's like, are we just going back to Torchwood again, but you can't have Torchwood back because Barrowman got his knob out in 2008. Like, it's like, it feels a bit like that. Whereas I think, there's so much potential for Doctor Who spin-offs that to kind of do an Earthbound Monster of the Week kind of show doesn't feel very imaginative. I think what I would love to see, what I want a unit series to be, is they go the full Star Trek Strange New Worlds with it, right? And just redo the 70s, recast the Brig, Benton, Mike Yates, make it like really cool and like high production values, and kind of properly kind of make it like a kind of period piece and kind of hark back to those kind of 70s Doctor Who stories. I think that could be quite fun. Whereas I think, contemporary unit, is it all that interesting? I think Harry's right. Maybe if you focus on the kind of internal relationships, and you kind of make it about, 1 week it's weird science, 1 week it's, strange alien incursions or something like that, then it could work. But again, like Harry says, I think it's also because we've had Power of the Doctor, you then have it as a vehicle to just go, and this week's special guest star is Bonnie Langford, or this week's special guest star is Sophie Aldred, and it's just a kind of means to kind of keep old fans happy by bringing back old companions outside of the main show. So I'm in two minds about it, really. I think if you'd said to me, like in the 90s, that, oh, by the way, they did a unit, do you know they did a unit spin-off, like in the late 70s after John Pertwee turned into Tom Baker, I would lap that up. But I think it's like Harry says, the modern unit, I'm just not that bothered by, really.
Same thoughts as me on that one, dude. I just don't think there's enough unit substance since 2005.
And it's not to say that Russell couldn't create that substance with a spin-off, and you have Jemma Redgrave as the kind of the core of it. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like my favourite Doctor Who spin-off. Danny Dyer as Sabalom Glitz. That's my favourite Doctor Who spin-off.
We need to make that happen, of course. He'd be up for it.
On which note, goodbye.
That was Mark's last contribution. Probably a belter as well. Mark's got to shoot, so thank you very much, dude, for joining us. It's your insight has been invaluable, as always. Thank you.
You're very kind. I'm sure I just talked a load of old nonsense. But yes, lovely to see you all again, and thanks for listening to the listeners. Goodbye. Aaaaaaaallons-y.
Right, let's go to Maria. Maria, what do you think to this spin-off then for Unit with old Ms. Redgrave heading up the team?
It's a strange one, isn't it? I think both Harry and Mark have kind of covered some of it. I don't know who this is aimed at. I mean, is it going to be an adult audience? So is it going to be like Torchwood Mark II? Or is it going to be like a more kind of child-friendly kind of series? I'm not against the idea of Unit coming back, but I think the idea of a kind of a show based on soldiers and a military kind of feel kind of does feel a bit retro, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. You know, because I think the image of soldiers is kind of, it's a bit tainted, isn't it? I suppose if you look at real life and kind of, you know, what soldiers have gone through. So, you know, if it's going to be alien invasions of Earth, and you know, and they're going to be here for when, you know, the Doctor's not here. You know, that's been covered before. So I suppose it could be a hybrid of lots of different things. You know, as Harry says, I think it's really going to depend on the characters. Jemma Redgrave, I don't mind her. I think she's been criminally underused in some of the stories in the main show. You know, there's not been a lot of development of her character, so maybe there is an opportunity to develop her as a main character, and obviously, you know, the people that she looks after. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I would love to see what the first episode looks like, and kind of, you know, and kind of judge it from there, really. But yeah, it could be good. Could be good. You know, there could be a Torchwood Mark II, I suppose, and because I don't see Torchwood kind of coming back now. So, you know, there may be a way of kind of capturing that original interest, you know, from the older fans, and, you know, drawing in new people, but you know, and the newer, younger fans. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I mean, I loved all the 1970s stuff. You know, that was kind of its time, and it was very much to do because of John Pertwee, I think, and, you know, the leading man kind of status that he was. So it'll be interesting to see what it actually looks like as a spin-off. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what it looks like. Not quite made my mind up on it yet, though. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense indeed. Okay, so I think we're all kind of shared, I think, in our opinion on this one, where conceptually it's probably a bit questionable as to why you would want to bring units back at this point when they haven't really contributed. Maybe that is why, I guess. Maybe because Russell is such a huge fan of classic unit and loves all that stuff where they were more involved and had, you know, more memorable, likable characters. Maybe it's a time to bring that back for unit. Maybe this is a cool time to have the younger generation have their version of unit that is very cool. Who knows? But I think we're just reserving judgment just a wee bit until we can get some more deets or whatever. So, all right, thank you very much. Before we finish up for this episode, we've got one question that came in on there was a few questions, but we've already answered them. So Andrew132, you asked about what we thought about the rumours of Stephen Moffat returning, and also this unit spin-off. So we've already spoken about those, dude. So we've answered that. And also, user I'm an Idiot said opinions on the trailer that was released yesterday, which was the Doomsday thing. So we've spoken about that already. Just one final question that came in from Titan Tom, and that was, what do you guys think the next Blu-ray set will be, or hope for? So I'll go very quickly on this one first. Easy for me. I really want a Troughton set. I think it's I know it's incredibly difficult, and it's probably one of those things where probably from Tom Baker's era onwards, and I'm making it sound like a huge oversimplification and very trivial, and I know it's not, but it's probably not too bad to get those ones done, because all the episodes exist, all the special features exist. You know, it's a case of, you know, going through the remaster process for some of it, and if you want to do new effects for it, then cool, and, you know, get some people back to do some extra features and stuff, it's all good. So I realised that the Troughton stuff, where there's a lot of missing episodes, and it's just very difficult to get all that stuff to coalesce into a decent Blu-ray set. I get that, but I would love it. I would love to see some remastered Troughton on the old Blu-ray stuff. So yeah, Harry, is there any set that you're hoping for as the next one?
I mean, in a way, it doesn't really matter too much to me, because I was a bit late to the game. I started collecting the standard Blu-rays a few years after the collection.
I remember. Yeah,
a few years after the collection started. I'm happy with whatever, really. Like you say, a Troughton set, that'd be really cool. Not sure how they're going to do it, but it'll be fun to see how they do. A season that I particularly really want to see is season 13, Tom Baker's second season. It's got some incredible stories in it, some of the all-time best. That would be an awesome one to own on Blu-ray. So yeah, I think the one that they're going to do next is going to be season 20. Peter Davison's second one. We've not had a Peter Davison one since season 19, the only one they've done so far, and it's also the anniversary year, so it'd be fitting to do season 20 because it will have the 5 Doctors on it, presumably, and it'd be quite cool to do that right now, I reckon. So yeah.
I read you. Yeah, I mean, selfishly for me as well, I'd love to have another McCoy set because, my favourite.
And then that'll be all 3 of them, right? If they did.
I don't...
Because they've done 24 and 26, so if they did 25, then that's all 3.
That'll be all 3. Have they done 24?
I think so.
24, that's Dragonfire, isn't it? And Paradise Towers. Have they done that one? And then 26. Oh, yeah, I've done 26, obviously. So 25, that'll be... Oh, Remembrance. Of course.
And that's an anniversary year as well.
Yeah.
So, they might do that one. Who knows?
Who knows, yeah. Okay. Maria, have you been picking these Blu-ray sets up, by the way? Regardless if not, is there any season that you'd like to see?
I have to be honest, I don't have a Blu-ray player, so it's kind of the whole collecting thing for those sets has kind of passed me by, but I just live for going to the BFI and seeing everything on the big screen. So, I want the live events, I'm, anyone that wants to collect the Blu-rays, I'm sure they're very excited when they come out. I suppose I'm looking forward to the release of season 20, only because that's kind of my era, and I kind of love, Peter Davison as a Doctor. I do generally love him. I know people have their opinions about him, but yeah, I'm looking forward to season 20. And if they did season 21, even better. I just want to have an opportunity to cosplay with the Tegan costume that I've got. So, nice. I want to be at the BFI and kind of do all of that. And I want to actually see Janet Fielding as well come to one of those events as well, because I don't think she's actually been at the BFI for a long time.
Okay.
And Peter Davison, I don't think I've seen him at the BFI. So, yeah, I would kind of be looking at that era. I mean, if you're looking at classic, I suppose, anything that's left of the Troughton era would be fantastic as well. Although, like you said, it's quite difficult with some of those stories because there's a few, missing stories there. I'll go Peter Davison all the way.
Mr. Davison. That's not a bad shout, actually. Yeah. Okie dokie. Titan Tom, let us know what set you want in the Discord, dude. Right. I think we'll wrap there. I think we've waffled on long enough about what's happening in the world of Doctor Who. Let's wrap there, shall we, for the March Roundtable. Thank you so much for listening to the March Roundtable. Thank you very much to Mark, who had to shoot off a little bit early. And thank you to these guys. Harry, it's good to have your thoughts as always, buddy.
Thank you so much, Gary. Always fun. Thank you very much.
And you, Maria, it's good to have your valuable input and your opinion on all this stuff. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm really sorry about the connection problems I've had today.
It's just become part of the thing now. It's just part of the show.
It's part of the itinerary.
I know people have to bet on when it's not going to happen, really, because they might lose a lot of money.
Place your bets.
I'd be disappointed if it didn't happen. That's how much I've come to expect it.
We've come to love it.
Oh, now. Thank you, Harry.
So thank you very much to these guys, as always, for joining us. And as always, please make sure that you are subscribing or following to this podcast in whatever app, wherever you get your podcasts. That way you won't miss any of the roundtables that land every single month, or the regular show that goes out with me and Adam every Friday. You can also listen for free over on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. And you can also check out the very cool articles, which contains reviews and editorial pieces from these guys. Go and check them out. We're on the socials, links are on the website. Give us a like and a follow over there. And we've also got a really cool free Discord server, so hop in there and get chatting with other Doctor Who fans. It's all good. Right, let's close out with Allons-y. Until next time.
Allons-y for.
That was a good Allons-y. Cheers, dudes.
One of the better ones. Yes.